Hey guys, what is today? It is November 8th, and I just thought I'd pop on and do a little check-in. Everything is going good right now. Here's my fire. I'm going to sit in front of it. I guess I'll start with the good stuff. Over the past weekend, today's Wednesday, I had a really good week at work last week, and then I had what I can only say is as close to the most, quote, amazing weekend that I've had in a really long time. And it's not for any other reason than that I have started to kind of feel like myself again. I do still have really heavy moments. I just had one like 30 minutes ago before starting this recording, and it was actually what inspired me to come on and record this anyway, because I have some things I want to talk about. But let's start with the happy stuff. Over the past weekend, I was very productive. I felt motivated. I felt like I was deriving a sense of enjoyment and satisfaction in my work. I forget even what I did on Saturday. I think it was just that I did 1,000 loads of laundry. Listen, I am 3.5 weeks post miscarriage at this point, and I am still only just now catching up with all of the life things that built up on me from the point of like dealing with the horrible anxiety I had during my pregnancy, and then all the nausea that totally crippled me, and then the despair and all the grief. It is really hard to like do a good job under those circumstances. I did my best to keep the necessary things flowing, and I kept the ship afloat. It got really close to sinking, but I kept it afloat. It felt really good to like want to not only have the energy and ability, but to actually want to have order and cleanliness and organization and stuff. So Saturday was really great. And then Sunday, I spent the entire day in the kitchen. I got a sourdough starter going for the first time in over 2 years. So I was baking regular bread. I was baking sourdough bread. We have a neighbor who raises cows, and he's going to butcher one of his cows, but he only has room for half of the cow in his deep freezer, so he offered the other half to us. And so we absolutely took him up on that opportunity. But our deep freezer is currently full of just all kinds of stuff. You know, like we have many, many years of harvests that sort of like kind of got buried at the bottom of the deep freezer. So I went through and I like reorganized our whole deep freezer, and we have tons of elk bones and venison bones and some of our own chicken bones and things like that I have saved up for a big bone broth batch. And I just haven't gotten around to cooking it. So I took all those bones out and I made a beautiful, fresh, like many liters of fresh bone broth for future use. So that was a lot of fun. And then I made like a chili from scratch. I made a venison stew from scratch. I made all of my meals for the week, my lunches and my dinners, because I'm doing this whole macro tracking thing. So it's been very healing and relieving to feel like sort of a sense of myself returning, and just an enjoyment and a satisfaction in life, in my daily life, in my contributions to my family and to our economy, for like the work I'm doing at work. I feel very proud of what I've been able to accomplish, and I am melting in front of this fire. Excuse me as I continue to like peel layers of clothing off. But listen, okay, let's talk about the diet and fitness thing. Here are some videos of my workouts. I have decided to film all of my workouts this week, because I want to have a record of what my body looks like, what my form looks like, what my shape looks like. I want to track the evolution of my fitness journey component of this overall thing I'm doing. And one of the things that I've always loved in previous fitness journeys, in my pregnancies and my postpartums, was looking back and being able to see how my body changed, how my form changed, how my technique changed, how I grew and adapted and just became better, improved and stuff like that. I've loved watching those things. I got to get away from this fire. I am literally melting. But now you guys are on my drying rack. But it requires a sense of humility because it means showing my body in its current form, in a form that I am trying to change. And so it's not so often that I post everything, but I'm working on it right now, and I decided I want to just be honest with myself and record all of my workouts for a whole week routinely. So maybe like once a month doing it, and that way I can kind of like witness my own progress slowly over time. So workouts have been going great. I have scripted my daily routines. I have stuck to them. One thing differently that I'm doing this time versus previous fitness components of journeys like this is that in the past, I have written one meal plan and I've just eaten that day in and day out for the entire duration of like 4 months or whatever, where I just ate the same thing every single day. I like that for the convenience factor, and also like I just have strict control over all the as many variables as I can control. But that's not necessarily the healthiest when it comes to trying to get a diversity of vitamins, minerals, nutrients, that kind of thing. I mean, I take my vitamins and stuff, but it would be better to get it from fresh fruit, veg, grains, proteins, etc. And I'm not just on a body changing, like outward body changing journey. I'm really trying to heal myself, get myself whole, get myself healthy, mind, body, spirit, from the inside out. And so the one thing I'm doing differently this time is every week I'm writing a new meal plan, and there are certain components that have not changed over the past couple weeks. And then there are some that have changed. At the bare minimum, I try to mix up my vegetables and my grains, so like the plant-based sources of nutrition. Animal proteins kind of are staying the same. And like, for instance, breakfast, I just love my breakfast right now. I'm having 5 eggs and a banana and peanut butter, 3 whole eggs, 2 egg whites, and then a banana and peanut butter. And I just love that. It just does the thing for me. And eggs are free for us because we have egg-laying hens. So can't beat free. Anyway, so that's like an update on that end. I'm of course not going to weigh in or do measurements or anything like that until the end of the month. I can't say I feel any different, but I do know I have stayed 100% consistent. And every day I go into the gym, I have a little bit more energy. I have a little bit more momentum. I have a little bit more drive. So I'm very hopeful and excited to see how my workouts continue to evolve. I will take you guys with me on today's workout and show you guys that just as the next clip. But the last thing I want to touch upon in this video before it becomes too long is that I made a really big step in my healing journey today. And I'm so proud of myself. And I also have really loved this little thing that I want to share. I have been dealing a little bit with guilt again. Guilt is one of the biggest issues I've been having in my journey. And like, the guilt comes from so many different angles. It's not just like, oh my God, what if it was something I ate? What if it was, I didn't pray hard enough, something like that. Don't mind the mess, by the way. It's not that kind of guilt, but it's the guilt of like, I spent my whole pregnancy not connected to my pregnancy because I was dying of anxiety. Okay. And then there's the guilt of like, did my anxiety kill my baby? Blah, blah, blah. I've talked about this in the past. I'm not going to rehash it. But one thing I have forgotten to mention since I was like 5 weeks pregnant, it's been months. And I keep thinking about this and realizing I keep forgetting to mention it. One of the things that really triggers my guilt is that I have Hashimoto's disease. I'm medicated for low thyroid. Everyone knows that low thyroid is an issue when it comes to trying to get pregnant and staying pregnant. And when I was around 5 weeks pregnant, I did go and get my thyroid tested. And my thyroid levels came out completely out of whack. My TSH was a 3.0, and my T4, was it my T4 or was it my T3? One of the T's was really, really low, okay? But the problem is they were both still within the normal range. So I think you would have considered me subclinical hypothyroid based off of my numbers, even though I was I was medicated. But here's the thing that kills me. In like the whole developed Western world, they say that if your TSH goes above 2.0 in pregnancy, especially in the first trimester, you need to be medicated, because in pregnancy you shouldn't, don't quote me. I am paraphrasing what I have read and heard and seen from other people saying, but if you go over 2.5 in the first trimester, it means your thyroid is suffering and you should get medicated. But here in Sweden, and this has been a gripe of mine in all of my pregnancies, here in Sweden, even if you're pregnant, even if you're in the first trimester, even if you have known thyroid disease, the upper limit is still 3.7. And so my thyroid, my TSH, was a 3.0, and my T hormone, whichever one it was that they tested, was low, meaning my thyroid stimulating hormone was being churned out and the actual thyroid being produced was still low, okay? And I called my midwives and I said, look, I know you guys say the upper limit is 3.7. I've had many, many miscarriages. I'm just freaking out. Can I please just increase my medication just to play it safe? And I spoke to a midwife, but it wasn't my midwife. So she said, let me get your midwife to call you back. My midwife, the one that I was assigned to, who I hadn't met yet, called me back 2 times. Once like one day later and once the day after that. She called at 4:50 on both of those days. That is right smack dab of the time that I am wrangling my kids. They're all completely having meltdowns. I'm getting them seated. I'm feeding them dinner. Everyone is hungry. Everyone's tired. It's just meltdown mode. I have so much going on. And she never left a voicemail, and she never left me a number to call her back, never asked me to call her back. I never had the ability to call her back. I could only just call the main line. But by the time I was able to call the main line, they were gone. They were closed for the day. And I never had a chance to, I guess actually this must have been when I was around, let me think. I must have gotten the blood test when I was around 6 weeks pregnant, because I got the results back when I was around 7 weeks pregnant. And then the calls and everything, and then it was sort of like around 8 weeks. Anyway, this, within less than a week or something like that, was around the time that I learned from the private scan that my baby no longer had a heartbeat. And then so I had about a week's amount of time to try to get on the phone with my midwives, and it just kept slipping through the cracks. I was hoping she would call me back. There were a couple days I just forgot. Listen, these are the things that keep me up at night. These are the things that cause me all the guilt, because now it's like, it was me not advocating hard enough for myself. I could have just increased my medication here at home. I don't need a doctor's approval. I mean, I do, especially if I need to like get my prescription renewed and I'm running out of medication faster, whatever. But I didn't spend the time. I didn't go the extra mile to advocate and push and try to get in touch with someone. Anyway, so these are the things that they keep me up at night, because to me, that is the source. That is the cause. I caused it. I killed my baby. That, to me, like, this is what I do to myself. And this is why I'm like perpetuating the cycle of sadness and grief and just compounding the whole healing process and the slowness of it. But anyway, I have found over these past several weeks that talking about my baby like it was a person that really, really existed and not just an idea. Like Taylor Swift said in her song, "You were more than just a short time." Talking about my baby like that is somehow, for some reason, healing. And I don't know, validating. It validated my baby's existence. Maybe it validates my right to feel so sad and grieve the way I am. I don't know. Maybe it just makes my baby more real to me, like I was its mommy and it was my baby and not just something that never would have been. Do you know what I mean? And so as I have walked through this journey and as I have like coped through it with my daughter, because my daughter is also still very much grieving. My daughter has declared that this baby was a girl. My daughter, now I've said this many times, she has just died for a little sister. She has been wanting to have a little sister forever. My gut, as you guys all know, is always wrong when it comes to figuring out the genders of my baby. This time around, my gut never really had a sense, but I never really had a chance to like sit in this pregnancy and connect with it without feeling overwhelming like anxiety. And so I can't say I had a gut feeling either way, but I had some very interesting symptoms. Aside from the overwhelming anxiety that I had like major food aversions. And the only other baby I had food aversions, like super food aversions with, was my daughter. With my boys, I did have foods that turned me off, but mostly I just didn't feel good. I wasn't hungry and I had super strong food cravings. But this baby, I had zero cravings at all. Offer me $1 million to list one craving. I didn't have any. And I didn't have any cravings with my daughter either. And then also I got body acne. I started breaking out on my chest. Now I didn't have that with any of my pregnancies. So that was just completely new, whether it was a girl pregnancy or not. But I like the idea of saying that my baby was a girl, especially because it's meaningful to my daughter. And I didn't get a sense that I was having a boy. So we have decided as a family that our baby was a girl. And we have always had a girl name picked out. And I got permission from my husband to give our baby a full name. So I took the first and middle name that we were going to use if this baby was a girl, and then I added on 2 more names, which I've always loved. They've always been on my list of girl names. And I love how this name flows. I love how my great-grandma, she had 3 middle names, and we always used to love saying her whole name. Grace, Minuet, Frederica, Juliet. It just was fun to say as a child. And so I shared this name with my daughter, and she loved it. She walks around saying the names throughout the house. And I asked my husband if it was okay if, he thinks it's overkill at this point, but he's a guy, and I just keep reminding him we all have different ways of grieving, ways of healing, ways of making sense of the world around us. And so he said it didn't bother him that I named the baby. So I wanted to share the baby name here, especially since I would have been 13 weeks and 1 day pregnant today. So we would have been we would have started the 2nd trimester tomorrow. I'm right around that time where everyone else that was due a May 2024 baby is announcing right now. So in baby groups, in my social circles, just random people on Instagram, YouTube, like everywhere I'm seeing all these pregnancy announcements for babies that were due the month mine was due. And I just feel so cheated of the opportunity to announce my baby. So I wanted to announce my baby's name and share it here because it feels important to me. So the name I have chosen for my baby is Polly Yolene Amélie Catherine. And the name meanings are wished for child, pretty, persistent, and pure. And I just love that. I love it. We were always going to name the baby Polly Yolene. We came up with that name when we were pregnant with my last baby before we knew he was a boy. We loved the name Polly Passion. We just thought it was so cute. And at the time, my husband was singing a couple songs to the kids, our older kids at night, bedtime songs. And 2 of these songs had the name Jolene in it, or Yolene. And my daughter loved that name. She loved it. And we grew to love it. So we love the name Jolene. So we chose Yolene in the name. And then Polly was just a name I threw out. And we just thought it was the cutest name. And it's a name that's special to me because there was a park I used to go to with my dad. And we called it Polly Park because there were wild parrots all over the place, and they were squawking all the time. And my dad would always call parrots Polly. Polly want a cracker, so classic. But I feel like it just had that little tiny connection to my own childhood, this whimsical, fun, joyful playground with these beautiful multicolored green and blue and red parrots just flying around wildly. And they used to be domesticated parrots that someone had released into the community, and they just bred like wild. So I loved the idea of something that was captured or captive, that finally got to go and be free, right? Polly. And so we were going to name the baby Polly anyway, but I love how that sort of sentiment carries over to my little angel baby now, something that was captive that is now free. Anyway, so, and then, so that's Polly Yulin. That was going to be her name, but I've always loved the names Amélie and Catherine. I just have always loved them. They have no family significance. They have no real significance other than I just thought they were beautiful names, Amélie and Catherine. They feel just very wholesome to me. And when I realized that this was going to be our last baby, I'd never have another opportunity to name a baby ever again, it felt important for me to give this little angel all the names, because I feel like she's worthy and deserving of them. She's worthy and deserving of all the beauty that I can give her. And I feel like the name just flowed really nicely. Polly, Yulin, Amélie, Catherine. It just was beautiful to me. So this video is so long that I'm just going to end it and post this now. Maybe we'll just call it an update. So my next video will come out at the end of the month, where I will do more metrics and talk about like my progress physically, hopefully more progress spiritually, mentally, etc. I still have not heard back from any therapist. I can't seem to get anyone to call me back. My midwives called and put in a put in a request for them to call me. Still, haven't gotten any phone calls. No one has reached out to me. I'm sure I'm at the very back of the queue. That's the problem with mental health services here in Sweden, is that the queue is so astronomically long. It's impossible to get in any time relevant period. So I'm just on my own right now, but I feel like I'm doing a good job. I'm able to cry still, which is very important for me, because I cry these big heaving alligator tears, and it just helps to relieve some of the pressure that seems to build up silently over time. I like that I'm able to still cry and emit my emotions over it. It feels cleansing, and it feels like it's part of a healing process. But thank you for continuing to give me space, you guys, for letting me talk things out and work my way through this process. And I do feel like I'm making a lot of good progress. Even though I'm doing it on my own, I feel like I'm surrounded by people who care, and who are willing to see me, and just witness me and validate what I'm feeling, and see my baby and help me validate the existence of my babies. So anyway, I'll see you guys in a few weeks, and hopefully I'll have some good stuff to talk about. Yeah, but I'm smiling. I'm smiling for the first time in a while, and it feels genuine. So I'll catch you guys in the next one, okay? Bye.